Okay, so this is the astrological guide to love and sex for Aries. The distinction between love and sex is more plainly seen in the sign of Aries than in any other sign of the zodiac. Sex is a thing of the moment, whereas love involves a more sustained effort and long-term planning. All forms of love demand that the subject take the responsibility of their emotions. This Aries is not often prepared to do. As an innovator, a pioneer, a beginner of things, rather than a person who completes his project, the Aries, particularly the male, is thrilled by the chase of his current beloved. He is consumed by the idea of culminating his physical drives and desires in the sex act, but for his ardor, he has no intention of committing himself to the permanence of marriage. Aries represents the first blush of spring, but spring gives way to other seasons, and so it is with Aries' attitude towards sex and love. The Arian possesses all the aggressive energy that goes with being born in the first fire sign, and he is often influenced and affected by Mars, the hard-driving but often malefic planet, and has a tendency to burn out his emotions before he finds his fulfillment. The sex drive and creativity energy are very akin. They need to be inspired by spontaneous conflagration. For the Arian, creation takes place whether it is in the form of copulation or in the guise of a new idea, and unless there are other planets in the individual's horoscopes which allow for follow-up of the violent spurts of Arian creativity, then the subject, whether involved in copulation or creativity, finds a moment where there is a need for sudden cooling-off periods to readjust. In the recuperative period, chances are that the Arian will be impelled to take up a new chase. There is undoubtful that the kind of passion in the Arian subject that benefits the first of the fire signs. But unless the recipient of this passion can constantly fan the periodic dying embers of this Arian sex drive, and realize that this is a normal prerequisite of any relationship with an Arian, then chances are that Aries will be destined to go through life experience a multiplicity of affairs of the heart, without ever being vitally or deeply touched by any one particularly loved object. It is very hard to keep abreast the involvements of a male Aries. He is always bounding into new projects, eager to throw himself into dozens of different areas of life. Thus he constantly finds himself party to many varying forms of sexual activity. He is always in love, for the moment, but that duration of the moment generally rests on the ability of the other persons to orient themselves to the Aries' proflagration. Aries need excitement. It is useless for him to be involved with a dedicated, loyal type who simply cannot keep pace with his changing intentions, moods, and awareness of life around him. Aries knows that he makes mistakes in his love life, but astrologically he is molded into the pattern that encourages him to go through his existence repeating the same mistakes, rather than benefiting from them. Nevertheless, it may be to his advantage that he be willing to settle for several heretic passions of love rather than the permanent himself in the protestations of affection and fidelity, which he knows he cannot make in truth. The male Aries is basically honest and often makes his intentions with regards to love quite clear from the moment he meets his partner. Unfortunately, the opposite party often hopes that the Aries will reform and become somewhat nearer to the image of what the lover should be. The idea of amending or changing the character of Aries should be rejected at once. He will always go on his way, launching new ideas, new loves, new projects, always trailblazing along a road towards a goal of his own choosing. He does not anticipate defeat, but faces obstacles squarely and fearlessly. If he sees he cannot surmount these difficulties, then he abandons his plans and goes on to the next bright vision. His way of life is constantly involved in changing images. The more highly evolved he is, the more Aries likes to be well thought of. He will rarely relinquish a love of an unkind manner, for he is clever enough to place his partner at a disadvantage, so she would be the one to do the break. When he proceeds through life naively rationalizing that the romance was good while it lasted, but perhaps it was for the best to come to an end. If one indicates that he is perhaps responsible for breaking another person's heart, he will contrite and unhappy for a short time, but will never truly accept the fact that he has caused the other person's pain. He will use the fact that he was frank from the beginning of the relationship as an excuse, and that insist that he must have been misunderstood. What is more, even during the early period of self-examination, what follows the romantic breakup sometimes will defeat his attention in other course of actions, and go to another love. The danger here is that Aries may establish a reputation of being a heartbreaker over and above his natural potential to function in the capacity that he may have avoided in the very and he may be avoided by the very people whose favor he wishes to curry. After the first flush of impetuous youth has died away, an Aryan male generally finds love for the more normal type, for his makeup, no matter what stage of his development. He has the need to be loved and appreciated, and encouraging words, a literal pat on the head, works wonders with him, and if he is lucky enough to choose a wise, perceptive mate at the time he reaches middle age, then he can live to the fringes of stability as far as romance is concerned. The Aryan subject has an avid sexual appetite if his mate is also inclined to consider sex an enjoyable experience rather than just something to be endured. When he feels secure and is able to direct the other energies to the profitable areas of daily existence, love will last in the Aries as long as his mate is willing to sustain interest in sex, to acknowledge the fact that the Aries is completely male, and to act in such a way that is complement to his desires for sexual delight. Should Aries be disillusioned by his partner's sexual approach, he will always take his manhood and his longing for sexual pleasure elsewhere. In this matter, he has little choice, for boredom is an anathema of Aryans. One thing for certainty is anyone who is concerned with the possibility of taking an Aryan lover. Aries need flattery more than the subject of any other sign of the zodiac. Adulation is the fuel he requires in order for his sex drives to be linked to love. The blandishments he will sacrifice his normal desire to be free of marital responsibility and take on the permanent relationship. Of course, there must be adequate reason to flatter and encourage him, because his own tendency to bluntness will permit him to smell a rat in the flattery, if only the rather rat in the flattery is only the rather fawning, sentimental, insincere type, and would be partner much take an interest in his project and desires, even if the attention takes the form of listening rather than offering advice or sharing of the burdens. For Aries, a really uplifting affair of the heart generally starts with ordinary sexual attractions and later evolves into a situation where erotic, offbeat sex practices is emphasized. These two ingredients vent boredom. Aries is by nature a rebel. He dislikes being restrained by even the most tenuous threads of affection. Always preferred to be in charge of the facets of his life, no one states more frequently the fact that he is the captain of his soul than does the Aryan, and he firmly believes and tries to turn to truth. The adequate partner for Aries has to emphasize that the ideas and ideals if she hopes to succeed and remain a part of his life for a protracted period of time. As partners, Aries will be enthusiastic, virile, adventurous, though not always prudent, but he must always feel that he dominates. I'll just skim through now because I'm running out of time. It says the most harmonious sign for Aries is Libra, because the Libra possesses qualities that the Aryans lack, such as kindness, tolerance, sympathy. Yeah, if you want to find what matches for it best, then you could just do a Google search. I don't think I have time to make it to the end, but hope that you have enjoyed this. If you're an Aries, let me know what you think. Please don't get mad at me, because I'm just reading from the book, and I know that that wasn't all roses, but you gotta take it for what it is. And I think a lot of this astrological stuff, one thing I want to add in at the end here, is that knowing your character flaws that are built into your birth chart give you advice on how to work on your character so that you can, not be perceived as a douchebag to the world. I'm a Taurus, so this doesn't apply to me, but it will in the next one. Bye.